All right. I've successfully increased the volume on the flighter. Welcome to All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. I'm Kiff Van Hubel. I'm your host this week, and today we have in studio the fantastic, the lovely, the talented GK Bose. GK, thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. My pleasure. And of all days, it's the, it's fading out the sound, and there it goes. It's the it's the day after we changed the clocks.
Oh, I know. I needed that extra hour of sleep. I say that every year, but I love it when it comes.
Oh, man. I ran into a friend of mine over at the agency this morning who just came in with a 5-month-old.
Oh.
With Josie. She's a beautiful little girl, Annie Tedesco. And she said, no one tells parents that when they change the clocks, it's madness. Did you?
Yeah, I do feel that madness, like, because when we spring forward.
Yeah.
Because you lose an hour.
Yeah.
And the kids are in school, and that's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. You just it's so like you feel like, at least I felt like it was bad enough with the cats, but because they're tripping, they don't understand what's going on. And then
I don't even remember going, because when the kids were babies, I had the two. I don't remember like all that craziness. And now that they're older, I think nature has designed it so parents are not allowed to articulate how hard it is, because if someone could, we would not procreate.
I think you're right. There's things that you sort of take for granted that you're just kind of like all of a sudden. It's just this madness in your house.
What's going on? How come no one told me about this? Well, maybe they tried to and you didn't listen, or you just didn't hear it. I
think that's more the case. Either the people are like, why, or you just don't see anyone for the first 3 months of the baby being in the house.
That's true, too, yes.
My mom had, right after me, 2 years after I was born, had twins.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
And then my dad was working and she was in the house, and we had a little trailer in Grand Rapids, and it was like, Dad would come home from work and she was like, we're going out. And they'd go to Woodland Mall, and she's like, and Dad was like, why are we going out? She's like, I need to see adults.
Yes.
And I want people to gush over these children to make it.
I want to kill them.
Yeah, that's right. That's the thing that's going to save
their lives. Oh, I get it. I'm like, okay, I understand child abuse now. Not that I will ever do it, but I know why.
Exactly.
It happens.
Oh man, you have two sons?
I have 2 sons. Yeah. I mean, they're fantastic kids. We really lucked out. Lord knows I deserve the spawns of Satan, and I don't know how we lucked out with these amazing children. They really are cool. Like the oldest one, he just turned 13, so we have a teenager now. Oh my god!
Oh my god! What have you noticed? Like significant changes?
He's he's such a good kid, and like, he's like a 30-year-old trapped in a 13-year-old's body. Like, he's so mature and just smart, and knows what he wants to do with himself. He's very self-motivated. The other one, on the other hand, I love you, sweetheart. No, he's great. He's my actor. Our younger one, he's almost 11, and he takes a lot more, like, threatening with hellfire and brimstone to get him to do what he's supposed to do. But he's self-motivated when it comes to his career. He loves what he does.
When did you start doing that? Like, it's like, because you're in the business.
Yeah.
When did you start allowing your son to participate? Because we're on the crest of that too.
That was a tricky, being in the business, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you kind of want to shield your child from that. And you're like, do I really want my kid facing rejection every single day?
Right.
What's that going to do to their self-esteem? And the older one immediately felt it wanted nothing to do with the industry. He took it personally. He's like, I can't. This is not for me. But he had the maturity to know this isn't for me. This is not what I want to do. Huh. He's the athlete. He's a sports guy. He likes immediate results. He likes to see what he's doing. Yeah. If I kick this ball into this goal, I get a point.
Yeah. There's no gray areas. There's no waiting around. There's no avails. In football.
No, none. And so with the younger one, though, he's not a sports guy. He's more artistic. He's the artsy fartsy kid, and he likes performing, and he likes making people laugh, and he knows even if he and I wish I had his attitude now in my 30s, and he's 10 and he's got it, and he knows even if I don't book this one, I know I'm awesome. I know I did a great job. If I lose out to, another kid, hey, it's their loss. I'll get the next one.
That's
and I'm
amazing.
like, how? I didn't teach him that. He just got that on his own. I don't know where he got that from, but he begged. I let him beg me for about a year before I actually got him an agent because, kids they change their minds. They think they want to do something one day and the next day they're like, I don't want to do it. Yeah. So he begged for about a year for me to get him an agent. And, when he was 8, and I actually talked to another casting director who saw his picture. She's like, oh, I'd bring that kid in. I was like, he's kind of funny looking. He's super cute. But, he's quirky looking. He's got that very character-y look. Yeah. And she's like, I'd bring that kid in all the time. And true to her word, she brought him in. He booked the first thing he auditioned for. And,
That's awesome.
So he digs it. And you really have to be careful with it because it took me a while. It took my first kid he kind of felt like he was disappointing me that he didn't want to do it.
Huh.
So he had to really kind of speak up for himself and be like, you know what, Mom, this just isn't for me. I don't like it. And I'm like, honey, it's okay. He thought I was going to be disappointed in him. I'm like, it's fine. You don't want to do this. He's like, okay, good. So that, was a huge
That's
relief
so
for him.
wild. And to see that, you feel that sense of like, do I do what my folks do?
Yeah.
I'm married to an actor as well. So our child, everyone is like, oh, the expectation is this and this. And I don't want to put that pressure on her.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if she's starting to express interest, so then it's like, all right, well, okay. And to my parents' situation when I was coming up, they had wanted us to have nothing to do with the entertainment industry. And I grew up in, Midwest. I grew up in Michigan. Both of my grandfathers were ministers. So it was like, oh, you're an extrovert. Oh, you like to speak. Well, I think perhaps the seminary may be calling. But I liked Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin and Robin Williams too much to want to, and I was too mischievous in that way.
Yeah.
You want to nurture those natural interests that are present without pushing down or pushing away or pushing at all. But it's like finding that balance of.
I mean, it's a job. It's our job as parents to push. We got to do it a little bit.
You're right.
You got to do it a little bit because there are some of those kids that need they need a little boot.
Yeah, that's right.
In the right direction. And thank God we found acting for him, or that he found it for himself. Because I didn't, like I said, being a parent, you want to protect your kid from all the hurt in the world that they're going to experience, and you can't, because you can't. It's going to be there, and they're going to experience it. But you can prepare them for it, and I feel like for our son, his name's Cannon. I'll just give him a little plug. Cannon Karowski. He's an awesome actor. Hire him. He's small, and so he's not the athlete, like his brother, and he looks, he's almost 11, but he looks 8.
Oh, wow.
So it's perfect for acting.
That's perfect.
And I tell him, I'm like, it's so good, and if he didn't have acting, it would be interesting to see like what else it would be for him that he, because, we were all kinds. I mean, I was a geeky kid. I think we all kind of were. Those of us that get into voiceover, I think we come from like a geeky background, like Dungeons and Dragons type people.
Absolutely. And I just want to touch on one thing because you mentioned, and I agreed with you wholeheartedly. But like, why is it good that an 11-year-old looks like an 8-year-old for a kid?
Right.
In that their mind is in a place where they can do things, right? That an 8-year-old isn't capable of doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So most kids can memorize. It's amazing the way the kids can memorize scripts because there's nothing else in there. So they can just memorize.
That's right. There's no song lyrics from a party in the 1980s.
They don't have to worry about, did I pay the mortgage on time? Did I they don't have that. So they just memorize their little scripts, and he's so good with that. And at that age, yes, and when he's playing 8, 9 years old, but being an older kid, they have that advantage.
There's directable.
They
don't, and it's so cool. Like my daughter's in Taekwondo, and like the thing that Master Alonzo says all the time is you got to learn how to get hit.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't make you afraid.
Yeah.
It's like when you're canoeing, you got to get your shoes wet before you really start canoeing so you're not afraid. You don't think that you're going to keep your shoes dry.
Right.
And the same thing here, like you really need to.
I like that analogy.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
You fall so you learn how to fall right, because you're going to fall a lot when you're in the business of sales, of basically trying to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And I've changed my thinking too about the nature of rejection. I feel like it's the difference between if I take, let's say, a peach Jolly Rancher. I don't like peaches. And I put a peach Jolly Rancher in my mouth and I spit it out. That's rejection. But if there's a grape one and a green one and a strawberry one and a cherry one, and I choose the grape, I didn't reject green apple, strawberry, cherry. I just selected grape, and I didn't select those. And there's no judgment on those. And that idea kind of helps me deal with not getting selected.
Yeah.
And helps me be able to pick up the next day's work and go do my auditions and focus on getting what's in front of me and not worry about, why didn't that casting director choose me?
No, that's a great way to look at it. Because, I mean, we all have those days. I mean, we've been doing this. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the business.
Yeah.
Like you do. You have those days where you're just like, I was so perfect for that role. What? Like, what's wrong with me? And you can't take those things to heart a lot of the time.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I love voiceover so much too, is because, I don't like on camera. I mean, I will do it on occasion, but it is not something that I don't go after it, and it's not for me. I feel like my older one, it's the on-camera thing, not for me. Voiceover stuff, I love. I'm a literal closet actor. I get to act in a closet, and no one gets to see me and has to, I don't get judged on my looks. And that was always really big for me growing up. And doing voiceovers, I know that the reason why I didn't get the job is not because of what I look like. I know it's not because I wasn't, tall enough or, skinny enough or fat enough or, old enough or young enough or whatever.
Right.
I'm not expected to look a certain way. I mean, there is a little bit of that in the voiceover world, but for the most part, not as much as there is on camera, obviously.
Certainly.
So that takes, for me, that's why voiceover was such a perfect fit, because I didn't have to worry about all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I could just do my thing, and if they don't like it, they don't like it. Whatever.
It's the naked performance into the microphone that makes the difference.
Yeah.
And is that the right fit for the character, for the brand, for the promotion, for the book, whatever it is?
Yeah.
Does it match right? That's awesome. I kind of fell into voiceover. I had always loved playing with microphones, and I was always fascinated by technology. But when I started trying to figure out how to get in front of the camera, I found myself in front of a microphone. And that was really but the two things have been running parallel in different ways.
Yeah.
Like I'll have a lot of success in voiceover, and then the on-camera will just sort of trickling along. And then I'll hit a campaign on camera or something, or get on television. And then the voiceover thing kind of, so it's this, I had a teacher at Second City back in Detroit who talked about that, is like the reason you have different disciplines.
Yeah.
Is that you can work in them. Just like, I know that your career is very, very diverse in that you do promo, you do animation, you do commercial, you specialize in being a Swiss Army knife in that way.
Yeah, kind of. It's so funny that you put it like that. But yeah, I feel like I've been very fortunate in that way to have done a little bit of everything. And I kind of feel like that's my diversification, if you will, in the industry. Yeah, doing promos and doing commercials and doing a little bit of animation, a little bit of video games here and there. Because there are some people who do get stuck in just commercials and they can't get their animation agent to, give them the time of day, and are just doing animation and, hey, I want to do a commercial.
Right.
And, so.
Well, do you think it's about agencies not giving you a shot, or is it skill set in terms of the type of actor, or is it like, the process of interpreting, the difference between, you get a piece of, a 30-second radio spot for McDonald's, you're going to approach differently than you would approaching, or is the process more similar? What is your process like when you
In my experience, I think it really has so much to do with your agent giving you the opportunity.
Huh.
In my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think a lot of it has to do with, just the relationship that you have with your agent and letting them know what you are capable of right away. When you sit down and have that first meeting.
Yeah.
I just remember saying, I know a lot of people will tell you, well, I don't know if a lot of people will, but I had a couple of people tell me, when you first, go in for that meeting with your agent, most people get into voiceover because they want to do animation.
Yes.
They say, don't say anything about you wanting to do animation because most agents are all about the commercials because that's where the money is, blah, blah, blah. Uh-huh. And don't even say animation, when you go into that
right. Don't bring it up.
Yeah, don't even bring it up.
It's like coming into an on-camera person and saying, I want to be a movie star.
Exactly.
Well, wait a second.
Yes, exactly.
Who do you think you are that you can come in here and do that work?
Exactly.
That work is reserved for a special cadre of people.
Yes.
People who have paid their dues. I don't know, I'm turning into Nixon. They've worked really hard.
You're exactly right. That was the attitude that that I was expecting.
Yeah.
From those first couple of meetings, and I think I must have done a decent job of letting them know, this is who I am, and this is what I'm capable of, and this is what I've done.
Yeah.
I've done a little commercial, done a little animation, done a little video games, done a lot of voice matching, this, that, and the other. And I was really fortunate to, I guess, let all of the agents know, because some agencies you have one person kind of doing everything. And then in other agencies, where I am, we've got commercial, promo, animation, video game, and then feature animation agents. So we've got several different ones. And I was really lucky to get to know each of them, and spend time with each of them. Yeah. So they knew who I was and they knew what I could do and what I had done. And so I will meet some clients, not at my agency, but other agencies who say, oh, I don't even know my animation agent. Like, really? How do you not know really? Like, oh, a promo person doesn't even know I'm alive. Like, what? Like, that's just always just blown my mind. And I mean, I don't mean to sound flippant about it, because I know for some of those people it's a big deal. But sure. I think for me, and like I said, in my experience, it was I don't want to say it was a no-brainer, because I did think about it. It was important for me to do that. And I don't know if it's just people don't think about it, or people just expect to get into an agency and have everyone know who they are automatically without putting in a little bit of the work. But I've always, like we were talking a little bit before we went on air, I used to be a microbiologist and molecular geneticist before I became a voiceover actress. And that's always been my thing. It's just, I got to know everybody. I wanted to make sure the pathologist knew who I was, the radiologist knew who I was, and even the phlebotomists, I want you to know who I am. I'm here in the lab and this is what I'm doing. And I want to do good work for you. Yeah. And, so, and like, I made sure I knew like the nurses and the ER people, like the places where I worked, I kind of went around and networked a little bit. And that's always been something that I've always felt it was important to do.
Well, the idea of network being like, I'm going to blow myself up and everyone's going to know who I am. It's not that. It's you need to know that I'm part of your team.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I look at it like, and I feel the very same way. I'm very blessed to have been able to work for every one of the different agents at my agency. And it makes me feel very much like,
you're part of the family.
Yeah. I really want to feel that way. And I want to, they take a risk on having me as part of their roster. Yes. And when they send me things, I want to make certain that I'm delivering. I want to be reliable, and I want to be like, it's like having a golf bag, and I want to be the 7-iron. I want to be your trusted club for whatever it is. And if there's something that I'm weak at, I want to know so I can make myself better at it.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to make certain that, like, and it's not just the high ticket items. It's not just like the feature animation stuff that I really want to get better at. I want to keep my commercial chops up to snuff. If I haven't booked a commercial in a while, I want to know, self-diagnostic. I'm watching and paying attention to what's on TV, who is booking, and what do they sound like, and what's the zeitgeist in advertising. Yeah. Because it's real easy just to throw a bunch of shade on celebrities. It's like, wow, Robert Downey Jr. is taking all my work. Oh, really? You were going to be the next voice of Nissan? Maybe he is, but at the same time, my hope eventually is to be able to walk some red carpets and stuff, and I want to be able to work.
Yeah.
You can't throw shade on those guys for booking that work. That's the value of being a celebrity is that you can bring that. I mean, it's one of the most fascinating campaigns to me, as a side note. But John Slattery from Mad Men being the voice and on-camera personality for Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
Was fascinating in that it's not because of John Slattery as a character actor. It's John Slattery as Roger Sterling in a way.
Yeah.
Represents that brand. It was a very interesting move on Lincoln / Ford's part.
Yeah.
And,
no, I think I'm so glad that you brought that up because I have gone there, like in our times of, self-doubt and like, why didn't I get that job? And, like, oh, I lost out to that person because they're a celebrity. Because sometimes it kind of makes us feel better.
Yeah.
When we do it. But you're absolutely right. Like there is some cash. I mean, there's cachet in that. And there's so much value in, being those people. And you're like, oh, come on, Disney, why you got to go with the celebrity? Oh, come on, DreamWorks,
right.
Really? Do the kids really care? Well, maybe the kids don't, but, the people putting the money behind the project do.
Yeah.
They care.
They do. They care quite a bit. And as much, this is the craziest thing to me. The thing that I come back to on the celebrity tip is I have never heard a better commercial than Tim Allen's commercials for Pure Michigan.
He's so good.
He's so good. I'm choked up now thinking about these soft, sweet, passionate spots about how beautiful Lake Michigan is. And I'm like, I was living in Chicago listening to these spots and like, my God, like, this is the Home Improvement guy. This guy was, he's a stand-up but like you see the full range of what someone is capable of doing and how they can play that instrument. And it's, and then he was on Campbell's Soup and he was on all these different things. Yeah. And you can look at that in a couple different ways. You can be like, oh, well, they're just shilling out money because Tim Allen's a celebrity. Or it's like, no, he's very, very good at working a microphone and he's very emotive and relatable. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. And
like, I don't like beer, but I will drink one for Kiefer Sutherland and Donald Sutherland any day.
Oh, yeah.
Either of those two.
Boy. I mean, it's interesting. And those guys, like, their voices are thrashed or, like Sam Elliott, like these guys, but the richness and the tone and all that stuff. I don't know. I feel like I know my place in the industry and I always want to be climbing and working my way through it and building. Yeah. But I at the same time really feel like the way to do that is to continue learning.
Yes.
And continue giving too. I feel like that's really important.
That's huge. And that's something I've been learning too over the last, couple of years is just, well, even, before that, I feel like I was very fortunate in the beginning of my career to have been given chances. And, people taking me under their wing and showing me the ropes and teaching me, how to, just behave as a voiceover actor. And just being able to give back. And, it's one of the reasons I love social media so much is, because I yes, it's wonderful for self-promotion, but I love being able to lift other people up. And
I told you beforehand, I really appreciate that. I just like just going down your Twitter feed last night in anticipation of you coming in it was just so cool to see how active you are and how many different things you're retweeting and the positive things you're saying. Just thought that was really cool. It was inspiring, and it's not all like pictures of yourself trying to blow yourself up. It's lifting other folks up. I think that's really important and awesome.
Thank you. And I think I also found that too, just in the voiceover community. And, last little bit on the celebrity thing I wanted to say is it's how cool is it that we get to be in the same room with those guys sometimes?
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like just to even be considered alongside those names. Like that would never happen on camera. Are you kidding me?
Right.
We would never be on the same casting sheet on an on-camera job. Yeah. But for voiceover, we are. And how cool is that?
And you can be equals in that room.
Exactly.
Whereas in another thing, it's like you'll do an hour.
Yeah.
Or with working with them or two.
Yeah.
You have one or two lines and that's it.
Yeah.
But in this context, it's like you're actually equals in the script and you're working together and sparring and it's really satisfying.
Yeah. It's so awesome.
It's so cool. Can you tell me how you made the transformation from being a microbiologist into doing what you're doing now? What led you down that path?
Well, voiceover is something that I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid. I've just always loved, cartoons and just using my voice and manipulating my voice and, doing certain things. And I think it was, it's just always been a dream, as a child. And,
where are you from originally? Are you from?
I was born in LA, spent some time in Hawaii, and my family's Polynesian, and came back to like Northern California, where it was just podunk, like Petticoat Junction. It was horrible. But anyway, doing voiceover has been very therapeutic in a lot of different ways. But anyway, so I went to UCLA for school and never looked back. But when I was at UCLA, I was a guide on a little tourist train, and the tourists would always comment, "Oh my gosh, you have a great voice. You should do something with your voice. Don't get on the radio, blah, blah, blah." So, people say those things, and I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I started putting, reading scientific journals and putting those on cassettes. Remember those?
Yeah.
Or the little digital recorders for the professors and the other students that didn't have time to read them. And they were like, "Yours is like the only voice I can listen to and not fall asleep.
That's
Please
great.
keep doing this."
Yeah.
And so anyway, as a wonderful, good little Asian student, I had to finish my degree, and I was on my way to medical school, got a job as a microbiologist and molecular geneticist, and was doing my thing, doing research, and my husband and I. This is a long story. I'm sorry.
No, it's
try and cut it short.
No, it's okay. Take the time you need to tell it, because I'm fascinated, and it's elite, but it's also like I totally am tracking with you.
Yeah. So I promise I'm going to get to that.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
We got married young. I was 21. I joke and say I could barely drink, but I had a marriage license. And he was 25, and so I was, I had one more year of school left. So I was finishing my degree at the same time doing research as a microbiologist and molecular geneticist, and finished my degree. Was finishing up my research, and we had been married for about a year, and that's when I found out on our 1 year anniversary that I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And so, worked all through my pregnancy, and was, really thinking about the next steps of applying for medical school or graduate school, or, figuring out, what I want to do, because I wanted to be Scully originally. I wanted to be a scientist and work for the FBI.
Yeah.
And after our first son was born, it's like, oh my God, I gotta be home with this guy. I can't leave him.
Yeah.
And wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and which led me to, okay, well, now that I'm a stay-at-home mom, maybe when Dad comes home, I can go take an acting class or something like that. Something, for me, something fun.
Something fun.
And the very first thing that I did was I took a voiceover class from the famous, wonderful Terry Apple.
Oh. And
Terry was amazing, and she was the first one who was like, you know what, you could do this for a living. And I really, I thank her every day. She really kind of took me under her wing and showed me the ropes, and
wow.
And she connected me to a wonderful woman named Kat Cressida, who also, was kind of like another one. Like, yeah, you could definitely do this. And she, taught me a lot of different things, and with those two, and then Sandy Holt, I want to just give these people credit because they were so wonderful in shaping me in the beginning of my career, when I was still, so new and just doing this thing that I loved while maybe hoping to have a career. It was a hobby. It really was, because I was spending more money than I was making.
Well, that's the thing is it doesn't feel like you're led to believe that it's not a viable career option.
Absolutely.
Even if it is, it's kind of like we were talking about with the celebrity thing. And even if it is a viable career option, not for you.
Yeah, of course not.
Who do you think you are?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm this was supposed to, my mother was just like, what?
Yeah.
You're doing what now? And I'm trying to live up to my brother who's got 2 PhDs and 3 master's degrees. And, I think, also, too, they kind of gave me a little bit of slack because, I'm a woman and, my family's very old fashioned. And, my husband was paying the bills and taking care of me. So, okay, let her play. Let her go and play and do her thing. And,
Yeah.
And, she booked a job. Good for her. Yay.
Yeah.
It's like, you sold a doily at the local county fair. Good for you.
Yeah, nice job. Good.
It was like that,
Did you get that out of your system yet?
Exactly.
Are you done doing that now? Now that you won first prize, can you stop?
Yes.
So no, now that I won first prize, I want to go win.
Yes.
Now I want to win the championship.
I want to keep going. So yeah, it was a lot of that. And it really was, I think, because, it was having my son, really, at the time that I had him. And it was able, that enabled me to just go for it and see if I could do it. And then, as they grew, my career grew, and
that's so awesome.
They've been, with me from the very beginning. And I really, it's been because I had the opportunity to, we were poor, living off one income when I was a stay-at-home mom. But, without that, if I had, continued on that path and not chosen to stay home with my son, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't. I would be, a researcher or something. So yeah, I would have continued along with the sciences.
That is such a cool story because so often you hear people. I know one of the things that I felt was going to stay my hand about having children was that it would derail the trajectory that I saw for myself.
Yeah.
And to hear someone talk about how it was because of that it was able to help me launch and build my career in a different way.
Yeah.
It's something that my wife says all the time that her mother says is that the journey that she's been on because of the children.
Yeah.
It's just extraordinary. You get to see so many cool things and do stuff that you never during just coming up and when you came up, you weren't exposed to it.
Absolutely. And, and talk about networking, the schools that my kids ended up in, their classmates, their parents, were able to hire me or,
wow.
their parents worked for Disney or, our sons are friends and, I happen to be this person over this. I'm like, oh, really? Well, this is what I do for a living, So, just people that I never would have gotten to meet and opportunities that I never would have had I not had the kids when I did.
Yeah.
Living here in LA, of course, we were living in Burbank when I first had them. And it was just, that to me was just, okay, I live in Burbank. I have no excuse. Let me take an acting class and see what happens.
Yeah. Why not? If you had the curiosity and the interest in doing it when you were, was it something that you were always was sort of in there?
Yeah.
Or was it just kind of in the back of your head and just wanted to nurture it, but it wasn't something that you were able to in the context of your family?
Absolutely. Just, living up in where we did, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's Weed, California.
No.
Yeah. Tiny little podunk town. I'm sorry for anyone who's from there. But, it was not a pleasant place for me to grow up. And there was nothing. I wanted to do so many different things when I was a kid, but the closest city was 4 hours away, which was Sacramento.
Wow.
We were in the boonies. Our closest neighbor was 3 miles away. My husband, when we first got married, he didn't understand why I didn't really care about Halloween because I never had trick-or-treaters. I never went trick-or-treating because I'm not walking 3 miles to go knock on my neighbor's door.
Right, to go get a fun-sized Three Musketeers and then walk home.
Halloween. No, I don't hate it anymore, but I love it now. But anyway, so to answer your question, it was just something that I've always wanted to do. I wanted to take harp lessons, but the closest harp teacher was 4 hours away, and I couldn't. Yeah. There was nothing I could do. Yes, there was local theater, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. So when I got to high school, and I ended up running track and cross country, ended up that's how I got at UCLA. Was a scholarship athlete there, and I was just I was just running and talking to myself. So yeah, and playing with my voices while I'm running around in circles and miles and miles and miles. And
that's awesome.
But yeah, there was nothing up there except for when I started working on the tourist train. That was the first time. When I had people comment on my voice, I remember when I got to high school and we would read out loud and present, people would always thought they were going to say something about, oh, that was a wonderful thing that you said, or like, oh, you have such a great voice. Like people in high school were telling me that. Like I could listen to your voice all day.
Yeah, it's not about what you're saying; it's how you're saying it.
Yeah.
We love how you sound.
Yeah, but we were such a tiny little town. Like, there wasn't going to be any like radio opportunities or anything like that.
Right.
So
I remember having a similar experience. I was working in Maryville, Tennessee, at the Camelot Music, and it was Christmas time. Checking people out, like them buying their CDs of like Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. These were the things on the hot sheet then, and TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool, and Nine Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. And I'd ring them up, and they'd be like, "Man, you got a really nice voice." Like, oh, thanks. That's not the kind of comment or compliment that you pluck and you put in your pocket.
Yes.
Someone at the Camelot Music told me that I had a lovely voice. I'm going to go hang my career on that hope. Yeah. But, and you appreciate it in the spirit that it was given, but it's also like, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So, well, I know that you've done lots of different kinds of things. And one of the things, and our work styles in terms of that level of diversification of interests, like I've done that kind of stuff here and there. I'm fascinated by the anime world. What is your process when you're going into, because you're working with, are you dubbing the original Japanese?
Yeah.
So how do you create a character? What's the inspiration for the character work that you will do? I'm taking a giant left turn.
No. When it comes to anime, it's they want to stay true to the essence of the character that has already been created in the Japanese, which is totally understandable. And so we'll listen to always the Japanese first and see who this character is. And there's always a client there. If you're lucky enough, sometimes you even get one of the creators.
Wow.
And they'll say, okay, this is who this person is, and this is who we want her to be, and this is who she's already established. And so that, in one sense, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because in one hand, it kind of makes it easier because you don't have to do a lot of thinking because the creative process has already been done for you.
Those choices have been made and signed off by the creators in Japan.
But on the other hand, too, it also kind of limits you if you want to do something fun. If you have a fun idea, you might not be able to do it because you don't have time, you don't have the mouth flaps.
Yes.
And you just don't, or it just doesn't really kind of go with the flow of what's happening, but it would be so fun to do. So you're kind of, on one hand it's easier, on the other hand it's like you're limited. But, those characters, they're, a lot of the time they're just so much fun to do. And it's a completely different skill.
Yeah.
Because you're having to match the picture and.
Because it's basically looping, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and you just, you're supposed to say this big long sentence and you have 2 flaps. You're like, how am I going to fit that in there? Or you have the opposite. You've said everything and their mouth is still moving. You're just like, what do I add? What do I say? So you got to stretch out your words. Or that's why I always, it's so funny because I have always been fascinated by anime because it is such a, as a child, I remember watching it and just thinking, why is this so weird? Why is it so different? People don't talk like that.
Right.
In real, or even like a Smurfs versus what was some of the anime that I was watching when I was
Were you
little?
because I'm a little bit older than you, so like Star Blazers, was that part of your lexicon?
I'm trying to remember some of the stuff that like the Speed Racer stuff would be on, like Nick at Night and things like that, and I was just like, why are they always what is that about?
Yeah.
And they were just adding.
I will get you, Speed Racer, if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah, who talks like that? So I just remember knowing it was a completely different style.
Yes.
Of animation, and just and then being able to do it now. It's just like, oh my gosh, I get to do this now. I remember thinking as a kid, this was so weird, and now I'm having fun.
That was I think the first real animation that I remember being captivated by was Speed Racer, and there was another cartoon. This was late 60s. I bought this encyclopedia of cartoons for the purpose of finding out if my memory was correct or not.
Oh.
Because I thought I was out of my mind. But I remembered a character called Dynamo and Prince. I don't remember the prince, but he had a medallion. Right now, someone is listening to this screaming the answers. Like, yes, remember that cartoon? Dynamo was like a big dude, and there was a princess and a crazy old professor. It's kind of like I'm describing exactly every anime that's ever been made, but it was we had a black and white television, and I was glued to it.
Oh wow!
And it was fascinating. Like as I got older. And none of my friends at all in high school or even college were really into anime. And I'd seen, and then one buddy of mine had done like, in a video editing class, had been like, oh yeah, I video edited the opening sequence from Akira to this song. And I saw it. It was Harry Frank who did that. And I was like, what is this thing? And then still, like, to this day, still trying to exactly figure out what's happening in Akira.
Oh, how funny.
But, like, I love that picture and Ghost in the Shell and so many of those wonderful stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of really fantastic ones.
And the fascinating, like, the cultural relevance of that, you know, having, you know, the destruction of World War II.
Yeah.
On their artistic.
Yeah.
You know, that this is a very young culture and expressing the nihilism and the future tech and even just the mood of so much, even the kids' animation, there is that feeling of malaise on it, you know?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's amazing that they're able to do those things, and it comes across. I mean, you know, it's just, some of it's just so gorgeous too. It's just so beautifully drawn. And
I think Ghost in the Shell Innocence is one of the few films that I've seen that was just I finished it and then just watched the whole thing again.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous.
But yeah, I dig it. When you were like, you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. Were you into those kind of things? Did you have a community when you were growing up of other kids to nerd out with, or
no?
You were on your own.
I was on my own. I mean, I wasn't a Dungeons and Dragons kid, but I definitely, you know, of course, living out in the boonies and, you know, being practically an only child. My closest sibling is 13 years older than I am.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it was just me and, you know, like my toys, and I would do little voices for them and put on little plays for my parents, and I put on little shows and, you know, do different voices for each of the characters and things like that. And I had to find ways to, you know, and I had, you know, acres to run on, so it was a lot of just, you know, tromping around in the woods and bringing home ticks, and so which today I'm a very indoorsy person. I hate hiking. I hate the outdoors. I hate the sunshine. Like I'm such a geek. Like now I'm just like I had nothing better to do when I was a kid, so I did all that. I got all that outdoor stuff out of my system. So now that I'm a grown up, I don't have to do any of it. I'm just like, go have fun, go hike on your, you know, go hike. I see you're hiking. Good for you. Done. Been there, done that. I'm done. Camping, done. Did enough camping when I was a kid.
Man.
But no, I didn't
understand.
I didn't have anyone, you know, really. And then, you know, I've talked about this before, but like the whole, like, race was a huge issue for me growing up. Because like I didn't fit in, like, where the town of Weed itself was very segregated. And I mean, it still kind of is. Like, you know, the Laotian community lived here, the white people lived here, the Asian or the black people lived here, and the Latin people lived here. And there was not a lot of mixing. And when I was a kid, my mother's Polynesian, my dad's Native American and Cuban.
Okay.
So I just, you know, I didn't really fit in anywhere. Like people are like, are you light skinned black? No, you're not, because you talk like a white girl. You know, your hair's not nappy enough. So what are you? I'm Polynesian. What the hell is that? You know, like, what is that? Polynesian? What? Like, what are you trying to say? You're from Hawaii? You're not from Hawaii. Like, you're not Asian enough. You know, the white kids obviously didn't like me because I wasn't white, and the black kids would call me a honky. And, you know, and then I'd get chased out of, like, the parks. Like, there was no park for me to go to because it was the white kids park and the black kids park. And I went to the black kids park and the black kids chased me out. I went to the white kids park. The white kids chased me out. You know, I went to the Latin kids park and I wasn't speaking Spanish, so they chased me out. And so, you know, I didn't have anywhere to fit in. And so that, you know, that's, I say, you know, voiceover has been so therapeutic for me because I've gotten to do blonde hair, blue-eyed Barbie for Mattel. Yeah. I get to be, you know, an African-American gangster for a video game. I've gotten to be, you know, like a Latina princess or a Chinese empress. And, you know, I've gotten to do all those different things for the voiceover, in the voiceover world. And it's been so healing in so many ways. So and that's, another reason why I didn't want to do on camera, because when I first started acting, I dabbled in it a little bit, and casting directors would kind of be confused by me. Like they weren't really sure what to do with me. Well, I don't know. Are you light skin leg? Like, what are you? Are you Puerto Rican? And I joke when I'm in New York, I'm Puerto Rican. When I'm in Florida, I'm Cuban. And when I'm in Hawaii, I'm Hawaiian. And it just kind of depends on where I am and where people are from. Also, too, the way they look at me.
Yeah.
And so, I just was like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. I'm just going to stay, in a closet behind a microphone, and that's all they'll have to go on, and we'll go from there. Right.
You're going to judge me by the sound of my voice.
Exactly.
And you can't make any determinations based on what you think I might be, so you can think about how to cast me and what.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Man. So, I mean, it's been a wonderful blessing, because I do legitimately get to go up for all those ethnic roles.
Yeah.
But again, like you're not going to see me as a Chinese empress on a TV show. But in an animated series, you bet your butt you will. You'll hear me as that, because I legitimately am part Asian, so I'll get to do that role. So.
Yeah. Have you seen Vin Diesel's short film Multifacial?
It. I've never seen it.
I've never
seen it. I've heard amazing things about it, but I still to this day I need to check it out. Where can I see it?
I saw it on it was called Short Cinema Journal. It was a DVD. When DVD was first coming out, they released maybe 15, 20 of them. It may be on Vimeo or Vimeo someplace.
Because I've always wanted to see it. I just don't know.
It made me a pretty big Vin Diesel fan.
Oh.
And my wife's African American, so my daughter is mixed, and and the things that you're expressing right now are very much concerns that I've felt with her, even in larger markets and like Chicago and here in Los Angeles, and just finding a place and making certain that she has her identity is one that she owns and is comfortable with. And neither one of us, as a white man and a black woman, can really fully empathize with her situation.
Yeah.
And it's the car she's driving.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And doing the best we can to advise and help and provide a safe and comfortable environment. But, to be able to say you can do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
But running into society going, no, you can't.
No, you can't. Yeah.
No, you can't. And it's not the law.
Right.
It's the zeitgeist, or it's the whatever. So it's.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, times are changing, yes, but,
But they change so slow.
They do. They change so slowly. And I don't know how now watch this just blow up just because I say this.
That's all right.
I'm like, I don't know who's going to hear this, but I'll just say it because it's true. Okay. Like sometimes, my son who's an actor, he looks Caucasian. That's all he goes up for pretty much. And if it's a huge audition, I make my husband take him because if I'm there, the casting director kind of is like, wait, what? The casting director freaks out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, honey, you take him to this audition.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
So, I hesitated for a long time too, because I didn't want my kids to kind of like freak out about it, because you want to protect your children. You want to protect them from all of that stuff, but it's there. So you want to educate them at the same time.
Yeah.
And they're getting it already. So they have come to us because they look really different too. Like I've got one son who looks totally Asian and my other white child. And so, like people are like, you're brothers? You guys aren't brothers. When they're together, because they look nothing alike. And so they come to us like, well, you have such an amazing ethnic mix. So like, look at all these cool genes that you got. Like you have, your dad's Polish and mom's Polynesian and Latin and Native American and you've got, this huge, just beautiful pool of ethnic stuff to work with. So you don't have to choose. You can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah. You're going to be you.
Yeah.
And it's so encouraging to go to school and see the kids and to see the pool and to see how interracial it's becoming.
It's so amazing.
When Sherry and I first started dating, my parents were like, you guys have a hard road ahead of you. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I grew up with the Jeffersons, and there was a mixed couple on there.
Yeah.
And it's not the elephant in the room that it was 20 years ago.
Right.
And I was a big Public Enemy fan in college. I still am to a certain extent. And, Chuck D talking about Fear of a Black Planet is like, as we become more and more, the more we integrate, the less those lines are it's going to be a long road, and it's going to be a couple generations, but eventually America is going to reflect the true melting pot that was intended.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's so encouraging. Like you said, just to see, my husband and I, we got so excited when we moved because there were so many interracial couples and so many mixed. All the kids looked alike. I was like,
it's awesome.
This is so cool.
You feel like you've found your tribe.
Yeah.
It's just this is where the people are who either don't fit in those places or it's just freaking hard in those places.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's an interesting parallel with this work with that too.
Yeah.
With racial stuff, because
totally.
It's because you're an anomaly in one way or another. And that so many of the folks I've talked to who do this work have found themselves in a place of just feeling a little bit outside. I was telling you before the show that the mission statement for this show, for all of our voiceovers, to be like a beacon in a post-apocalyptic world of just, broadcasting this signal. Like, I don't know who's listening, but just know there are people who are doing it.
And
here. You can too.
You can join us.
Just keep coming west or go or work where you are. You can work where you are.
Thank goodness now. Thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
You can work wherever you are now. You don't have to be in LA or New York or Chicago. You can be wherever.
Yeah.
And have a viable career.
Absolutely. You make a wonderful living in all those places, in Atlanta and and not just big cities. Like, I started in earnest in Toledo. There was a wonderful company that I logged so much time, because it is about just getting time behind a mic.
Absolutely.
And it was called Business Voice, and I did on-hold messaging. And it was like, it was like $20 a script. And I would go in and do, maybe 2 or 3 times a week and just go do, thank you for calling the Binkelman Corporation.
You're doing it.
I'm doing it.
You're getting paid for it.
That's
doing
right.
it.
That's right. I want another little blue ribbon.
There you go.
Another little blue ribbon. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's such a fascinating way to not only make a living, but, I guess the thing that I love about the voiceover community in particular is that common thread that we all share.
Yeah.
You can be born into an on-camera dynasty.
Absolutely.
But voiceover is a tough thing to be born into.
Almost. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a special, it's such a special group to be a part of. And it's there's such a special aspect of the entertainment industry as a whole.
Yeah.
It's just, a lot of people don't know much about it. Like, when you tell just, someone who has nothing to do with the industry at all about voiceover, they take a minute and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because what do you mean, cartoons? Like, well, it's just more than cartoons.
It's more than cartoons.
Did you listen to the radio this morning? Did you hear any commercials?
Mm-hmm.
You probably heard me.
Yeah.
like there's so many different aspects of the voiceover world, just and things you don't even think about. Even before I became a voiceover actor, the books, the ADR stuff,
yes.
The celebrity voice matching,
yes.
All of that stuff.
Do you do much celebrity voice matching? Do you find yourself?
Yeah, I have. I've that's another wonderful thing. Back to the race thing. I've gotten to do. I've voiced match. I have voice matched Jennifer Lopez, Kristen Bell, Beyonce. I'm like, Kristen Bell, blonde haired Kristen Bell.
Right.
And Beyonce and Jennifer. And Jennifer Lopez and I did. Oh gosh, what is her name? I'm totally blanking on she's a Chinese actress, and her English just wasn't.
Gong Li. I'm trying to think of some of the Chinese actresses I know from Michelle Yeoh. She speaks very good English.
Yeah, no, she didn't. But she's she was one of the gals who I think she played the lead in Memoirs of a Geisha.
Oh,
so I voice matched her for something.
I see.
And so it's just just so much fun just getting to do all these different people and I mean there's so much just the voices that you'll hear in Las Vegas when you're on the the moving sidewalk, and just there's so much that you just don't think about. Is it
do you have an ear for that, or is it something that you've kind of nurtured because you love to do the voices while you were running? And I had such a similar experience, but it was driving all over the place, from driving from Cleveland to Detroit and back for auditions.
Yeah.
That it was just playing with my instrument to figure out, because it's like learning piano by sight.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The playing by ear. And there's some people who I know, I'm like, I'm not going to get her because she's just, it's out of my range or whatever. But if it's close, and I just, and I'll just go back to, Kat Cressida really taught me how to voice match. She's like the voice matching queen. And,
is she a teacher, or is she
she's a voice actress and she works a ton, but she also teaches.
Okay.
And when I took her class, she had a whole section on voice matching.
Wow.
And, it really just, the way she taught really helped me, and helped me get it too. Someone who has a good pitch and good ear, someone who's already musically inclined, it made it just makes so much more sense, because it is like a song, matching someone's pitch.
Yeah, it really is.
And that was, because you also have those people who are really good at impressions. I'm not an impressionist. I'm terrible.
That's my skill set.
I'm not good at doing celebrity impressions, but I can sound like a certain celebrity.
That is such a fascinating distinction.
Yeah, and then it's funny too, because you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Doing a Beyonce impression versus doing Beyonce. And when I got to do her, it was really cool, because the engineer couldn't tell who was her and who was me. And that's when you did, big butt job.
That's when you nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And voice matching.
Matching.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to do a little bit of that with for Vince Vaughn.
Oh, cool.
And a couple pictures, and it is really thrilling and an interesting challenge of making that match work, but also honoring, like you were talking about with the anime, honoring the original performance.
Yes.
And being able to bring your acting chops to bear.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, when you're doing it too for a celebrity. Mila Kunis was the other one. She was somebody I had done recently. And, she has a little bit of rasp in her voice. And I think it was because I was coming off a cold, which is why I got to do her.
Yeah. Right.
But, and they have these, these cute little quirks about them, and she's just so cute and she's so quirky, and you want to you have to honor that, and you can't do an impression because it's just going to sound stupid.
It's going to sound like a bit.
Yeah. So you have to honor what they've already done, but you want to act instead of just mimic, and so you're like, what, so it definitely is an art in and of itself.
So can I throw you? I think I have my bag in here. Can I throw you a curveball? How are you at hitting curves?
Oh,
you all right? All right. So this is. I'm randomly pulling a comic book out.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what I like to do this every week. I'm gonna find. I want to find a page that has some dialogue on it. And are you all right with doing a cold read?
Sure. Yeah, that's what we do every day.
Yes, it is.
We do Sub-Zero reads.
This is my favorite exercise. I take a comic book, and based on the image that's present in the comic and the dialogue, I'm looking for but you don't have to, screw it. You don't have to play a man. You can play a man.
Why not?
You can play whatever you want. This is the voiceover world. You get to be it. It's just a very feminine sounding beast. Let's see. There's Moss Man. I'm just trying to find a chunk of dialogue that is longer than just, this is fine. This is fine. So this character here, has, 4 lines, and I'd like you just to go through your process, but just talk aloud your process. So you see her in the purple outfit. So just from the top of the page to the bottom, whatever her dialogue is, and I apologize for not highlighting it. You can pick it out because sometimes we get those boards that are halfway. But I'm curious in what your process is, and then if you would give me a cold read on her.
Sure. Okay. So let's see. Oftentimes, when you get a script, you don't get a picture of a character. It's wonderful when you have a picture. And it's action. You see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So let's see here. She looks, do we have a name? No. We don't have a name. It's okay. We don't need a name. But sometimes by the name instead of a picture, you kind of get in a sense of who they are. I love those scripts when you get like 2 pages of a description of what the character's supposed to be like, and you have like 5 lines. Let's call her the Lavender Queen. Lavender Queen. Okay. All right. That will affect it differently than if her name is Karen. Or Dorothy. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to pull you back a little bit just in case you decide to get loud. All right. Colonel Trevor, call off the dogs. I have new intel. Tell your people to stand down. Sorry, Colonel, but today I answer to a higher authority. No! Awesome. Now, why'd you make the choices that you made? She's running. She's running to Colonel. She's got, she's in kick-ass shape, but, she's probably going to be a little out of breath. She looks like she's running a little bit of distance. So I tried to give her a little bit of, make it sound like she was a little out of breath. And she needs to tell the Colonel, tell your people to stand down. Yeah. He's not going to do it. So she's got to punch him. Right. And then she's calling on her people to come and just, take over for this guy who wasn't listening to her. That's kind of, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. You look at the circumstance and then you just make strong choices and commit. Yeah. Commit to it. And sometimes, while you're reading, I will find little things in there like, ooh, that would be fun to do. Let me do that again, and that's why you always have a take 2. That's awesome. Yeah, that's right. And that's another beautiful thing about the voiceover world too, is like you're not like on as tight of a budget, so you can do different takes. Yeah, and take some risks. And if you don't like it, dump it. That's right. And choices can be disposable. Yes. And that's what I really love about voiceover. I come from the improv world too, and that teaches that as well. Yeah. My son loves improv. Well, I could talk to you all day, and we're at the time where we've got to call it a night. Can you? How can people who are listening find you in the world? Where can they find you? You can find me on Twitter. My handle's GKBose. I'm also on Instagram as GKBose, and I have a website, and that is gkbose.com. So pretty simple. That is pretty simple. And again, if you follow GK, you will see what I was talking about earlier. Just she retweets actively things that are helpful and interesting, all kinds of different resources. And it was just a delight to spend the afternoon with you and get to know you a little bit and just to share your story and your words of encouragement and everything to everyone in the audience. This is awesome. Thanks so much for having me. You bet. Thank you so much, GK. So that's what we call pretty much a wrap for the end of this week's All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy the show, I'm going to say this again in the tag, but I'm going to say it now live. Please give us a review, put stars, share it, let people know if there's someone in your life who loves voiceover and wants some information. This is a great source to get it. And we'll holler at you next week. Thanks so much for joining us. Peace. This has been All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes and give us a positive rating. It truly helps. Follow me on Twitter @KiffVH or on Instagram @KiffVH or on Vero @KiffVH. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon. Claim victory and depart the field.
Werewolf?
Yeah.